Hi, everyone. Welcome to Basic Binges, part of Nom Talk Network. On this show, we review the latest shows while eating and drinking our favorite drinks and snacks, our binge-worthy snacks, that is. I'm your host, Erric Ramirez, and right now I am enjoying a nice yogurt and some toast because, as we will get into that later, in 73 yards, they had yogurt and toasts. But I want to introduce you all to my lovely, lovely guests today. We have Julie, Brian, and Kyle. Thank you guys for being here. Julie, what are you snacking and drinking on tonight?
Well, you know me with my British foods and my Doctor Who. I had to do some shepherd's pie. It didn't plate as pretty as I was hoping, but looks good. It's the Vaughn's brand this time. We'll see how that goes. It's probably not as good as the shepherd's pie that Ruby was going to make for her mom, but it'll do. And then I've got some lovely European chocolates for dessert. Yeah, we'll see how those are the finest assortment of European chocolates. Felt appropriate. And then I was drinking some Olipop and also water.
Yeah. Very nice. And those Merci chocolates are actually very delicious.
I have not had them. Oh, good to know. Okay.
I can't buy them without eating all of them, so that's an issue. Also, I forgot what I was drinking. I'm drinking a lovely Voodoo Ranger because that thing seems to be the thing of me, and water because what? Hydration is important. But thank you so much for being here. Brian, what are you snacking and drinking on tonight?
Tonight I will be snacking on it's this Japanese snack mix. It's got bugles and like honeycomb pieces, and it's all infused with nori, and I just discovered it like a week ago, and I've become obsessed with it ever since. It is so good. And as per usual, ice water in my funky cold Medina cup.
Nice. Those sound delicious. I love a good, like, little just easy snack food. So that sounds great. But thank you for being here. Kyle, what are you snacking and drinking on tonight? And are you ready to get into these Doctor Who conversations?
Oh, I'm ready to get into the Doctor Who conversations. But for snacks, you know me, Nom Talk. I'm odd. So I'm a two-fisted drinker. I've got my water. I've got my soda. And since tomorrow is my birthday, my mom made me brownies. And I'm cutting pieces of brownie and just periodically eating them. So, I don't do anything half sides. I have the whole brownie tin and just dig in.
Nice, very nice. Well, happy early birthday from here.
Yeah, happy birthday tomorrow.
Also, happy almost anniversary at the Mouse.
Yes, 10 years.
So
tonight's gonna be fun.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you guys for being here. For everybody out there, tonight we are talking about episodes 3 and 4 of the new Doctor Who, Boom and 73 Yards. But before we start, I do want to remind you all that we are still funding for the Trevor Project, which is a great cause. Please check them out and support, especially with Pride Month coming up. But let's jump into this. We're going to start off with Boom. So Boom starts off with Ruby and the Doctor landing on this war-torn planet. Or actually, it starts off with two soldiers walking on a war-torn planet. And one of them obviously has gotten injured and is blind and is getting led by another soldier. Something happens. One of the soldiers falls down into a hole and ends up stepping on a landmine and just like disintegrating Boom. The other soldier who's blind takes off his blindfold, and a nurse machine type war vehicle walks up and like shoots him with these poles. And then everything else is fine with him except for his eyes, and she determines it takes too long for him to heal from his slight blindness that she ends up killing him anyway. Then Ruby and the Doctor end up landing on this planet, and the Doctor, with his golden retrieverness that he is now, hears a scream and decides to just run into this planet to go and help this person that he heard screaming. While he's going, he ends up himself stepping on this landmine. But in straight Doctor fashion, he doesn't put his foot down and he balances himself and tries to calm himself down because he knows what kind of landmine this is. Ruby comes out and finds the Doctor, and he asks her to explain it. And she explains to him that there's little lights going around it and everything like that. And in this day and age of the universe, there's a corporation called Villain
Villengard.
Yeah, that was it.
Villengard Tech that has ruled the war sector. Like they supply both sides and they just go at it. So they find out that that's what it is, and that's the time that they're on. In this, the doctor has Ruby go and find this little canister that was the blind guy, and it ends up being an urn. And he comes up and is talking. He's an AI. The doctor's trying to figure out how to save himself. In this, his daughter comes to try to find her father. Another soldier comes and she wants him to drop the urn, and then figures out, hey, guess what? Because the doctor says, if this bomb blows up because it goes off of your genetics, that's how big the blast is. Being that it's the doctor, if the doctor blows up on this mine, it's going to destroy half the world. In this, they send the AI into the nurse to try and fix it. He ends up glitching it and saving it and everything like that, turning off the bombs, and they figure out that this war that they're fighting, because they don't know who they are fighting. None of them have ever seen them. They're suspecting they're in the fog or in the mud. They're actually just fighting themselves because that's what the company wants. So they end up saving that, and the Anglicans, the Anglican priests, which we've met before with River and everybody, end up saving themselves and realizing this war was pointless and everybody can go home and nice, happy day. What were your thoughts on this episode? I'm going to start with you on this one, Kyle. What were your overall thoughts on this episode? Was it too fast, too slow? How was the writing and the characterizations and everything? What were your thoughts?
Okay, so the pacing of it, I think it's a really solid concept that had it been paced better in terms of and maybe developed the villain a little bit more, because I could go into like there was no real sense of dread or tension. 73 yards was terrifying, but this one, I know it's but this one was just there wasn't as much tension as I wanted it to with this, but God, I love the concept. Like the concept for me was really, really not something you'd expect to see discussed on a TV show created by a giant American corporation, which is the idea that war profiteering is bad, and the idea that arms sales can be turned against people, which is bad. And I was genuinely surprised that they chose to tackle this on Doctor Who. And I don't know if the pacing affected how that affected the genuine dread that comes with it, but to me, I liked the soldier. I liked there's some lines that Nishuti says that you missed, that glossed over, that were just great. Like he told the entire corporation, sent it to bed without supper because the AI is this dad, and it was just like so. I don't know. It felt really fast. This could have been an episode that was done over like 2, but that's just me.
Well, no, and I agree right with you, because we've seen kind of an episode like this in past Who with the Doctor's daughter. That was a whole war-torn country like this was, but we got more sets, more story, everything like that. So I agree with you. It should have been a 2-parter. My other issue with this episode is, why create the entire encampment set if we were only going to see it once?
You needed to develop. There's no, I mean, the reason why the Doctor plays up the idea that this guy's a father is because immediately as an audience member, that's going to go, oh, he's a dad, he lost his kid. There's war-torn, tragic, hot dude roaming around with a sad kid, and then there's all these, but you barely get to touch any of these other characters. And really, the strength of Doctor Who is in the attention that you feel, the tension that you feel with characters that you get to spend time with. It's not an American show where it's about the action and the explosion. I mean, it is, but the strength in Whovian television is that they managed to blend action and explosions with really solid character development. But God, I will ride or die for this concept. I did not expect them to do something like this, even if it felt extremely rushed.
Yes, no, I agree with you. And it is a little sad that Joe Anderson, who plays John Francis Vader, who's the father, is a great actor. He was in Across the Universe. He's been
oh my God, that was
things.
him?
That was him. Yeah. Okay, so moving on,
He looks
Brian,
familiar.
what did you think about this episode and the pacing and everything like that?
Well, it did feel a little rushed, but like I'm with Kyle in the terms of like I'm really proud of this concept. I'm really glad. Like I don't know, we're on a war-torn planet. Like people's whole lives have been based around this combat that turns out there was no enemy. Like it was a complete fabrication. These people have been like dying on a mud ball for God knows how long, like for no reason. And I really am. I'm happy we're back into sort of this like yeah, humans always find a way to like go to war for no reason and profiteer off of violence and all this stuff. And I don't know, yeah, the combination, the weirdly sort of anti-military, anti-capitalist, anti-religion sort of vibe with this one is like, wow, Disney, I didn't know you had it in you. Like I didn't know.
That's the biggest problem though. Sometimes with some of the things that a company does is they'll come up with these really great messages, these really powerful messages where they're like,
And yet,
gosh, maybe this is a bad thing. No, you know what? We're quick, roll it quick. Okay, we're done. Good. We almost had a thought.
yeah, they really they shoveled it out the door really fast. And I appreciated like we meet these soldiers that have gone through a hard time. One of them's blind, and two of them are instantly compressed into canisters. That's their whole corpse crammed in a tube. I'm glad we're able to get back to some of that real bleak that like this is a human corpse in my hand type of stuff with a character that's been endeared and turned into an AI, which is kind of I feel like Disney is trying to sell us that look, when your parents die, we'll be able to replace them with an AI that you will love just as much. And that's okay. You're gonna love your dead AI dad. Love him. Except your dad's not even gone. Love that my dead AI, better than my dead AI dad. He saved the world. Real dad didn't do that. Like dead AI parents. It's yeah, glad we're heading that direction. It's I feel like was the big like I don't know sort of the secret message of like we're gonna profiteer off you, but you're gonna get AI parents better than your parents when they die. Like, so anyway, I liked it. I liked that they took a swing at being darker, even though it felt super crammed in. Like they tried to go real big real fast, and I feel like it was missing something, but like I don't know, I feel like it's a step in the right direction.
Okay, I agree with you there. I feel like it is a step in the right direction. I mean, this is Moffat's first writing of the new Who, so it is definitely going into a direction that I want it to go.
Under the gaze of the mouse.
Okay, so Kyle, you weren't here our previous two episodes. This is where I really, because Millie was really not in this episode as much because she was knocked out most of it, and like the last two episodes, I thought it was her that I was having an issue with. This episode was really the start that I have started to notice that Nshuti is I think my issue of this. But before we go on to that, Julie, what were your thoughts on this episode, pacing and story-wise?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that neither of these episodes were my favorite episodes, like at all. But this one was my better of the two, for my opinion. The pacing, I actually agree with a lot of what Kyle was saying about it feels like it could have been a two-parter. It also feels like an episode that could have been pushed further into the season, in my opinion. Like, yeah, like, because I have seen these types of episodes in Doctor Who where they kind of focus on this one moment in time, but like, there's already been a strong established relationship between the Doctor and the companion. And in this case, like, he, you were talking about, Nchuti, and like, I personally like him, but he seems so attached to Ruby already. Like, he was basically like crying and like, I've just never seen a doctor like this early on be that attached to the companion. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but so it's just interesting. Like, I mean, like I said, I like the concept too. Like I was saying, I really like the concept. I was also surprised that Disney was, giving these strong messages, but like you said, it was just enough, and they backed off. I did like this one better of the two, and I like the concept, but yeah, there was just some. Yeah, I'm not sure if I love the pacing. Not sure if I love some of the. Like I said, it felt like a later in the season episode to me. So.
No, I agree with you. And you saying that like later in the season, I think I would have appreciated it more if it was a later season thing. My issue with it was I've never seen the Doctor run into something like that and get himself caught like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was weird.
And then also the emotion, like you were just saying, the emotion he had for Ruby seemed way too quick.
Mm-hmm. Not that I don't love Ruby, but he's only known her he's only gone on a couple little trips with her so far. This is not like, they are nowhere near where like David Tennant and Rose were, or, even Amy and Rory and, Matt Smith. So yeah.
Oh yeah. But like you said, I feel like this should have been a two-parter. Like we've seen it in The Doctor's Daughter, like that whole planet where they were a war-torn country.
Yeah.
We saw it with Freema when she was walking the world for the year. Like we've seen war-torn episodes, but they were very much more established, and we cared about them more.
Yeah, and it had more of an impact that way.
Correct. So now to ask, what did you think of Moffat's writing for this? Since this is his first jaunt back into the Whoniverse with Disney and Davies, what did you think of his writing? Do you think he came back strong, or do you think he needs to work on it a little bit? We'll start with you on this one, Brian.
I feel like it was Moffat flavored, but it was clearly heavily like he can write whatever he wants, but at the end of the day, I'm imagining that this story was altered, like compared to like what he does. Like I don't know. I feel like he really eased Disney into the Who sense of things by killing somebody's parents. Like if Disney can do anything, like magic and good, it's murder somebody's parents. Like that is Disney to a T. Like, oh, a dead parent. I love it. What else do we got? Like is what I imagine like the editing room being like. Then it just felt like about it being a two-parter, it feels like something that could have been, but I'm just willing to bet that this story just didn't have the juice to go for 2 episodes. I just think there wasn't enough. There would have had to been a B story or something if this was going to have a second episode.
Well, they hinted at that though with the soldiers and stuff.
Yeah, and I do like that they killed the crush. The dude who was like the girl's crush, him dying, that was an excellent choice because it was sad and I didn't see it coming. Like,
well, and for me, it gave for this episode, it kind of was like they looked at past Who episodes, like The Doctor's Daughter, The Library, and a couple like that, and they were just like, let's pick the best things out of these episodes and combine them and make an episode. That for me is what it felt like.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It felt like they were trying to return the form, but it's really like it's something being built from scratch. It's trying to imagine you're looking at a Lego set, and it's a completed Lego set, and you have all the pieces of that Lego set right in front of you, but no instructions. And you're an expert at building these things, so you're going to build something that's going to come really close, but it's not quite the same shape. Like this felt like Moffat Play-Doh in a Disney mold, which is like it'll get there. I think it'll get there. Like it's just going to take a little bit of adjustment time. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, no, I'm optimistic because I am always optimistic with the new Doctors because it takes time.
Sure.
Yeah, agree.
I am clarifying a question on our Twitch chat really quickly before I jump in there. But Julie, same for you. Same question for you. What do you think of Moffat's writing coming into the new Disney era?
Well, I don't know if I said this in previous talks, but Moffat's never been my favorite of the Doctor Who writers. I think I am not alone in that. As far as like his episodes that I've seen go that I can remember, like this definitely wasn't the worst. And I think it did fit in with like not only trying to reestablish Doctor Who, but also play by Disney rules. Like I think it kind of did all of that. It checked all the boxes. But I'm kind of gonna agree with Brian where like or you were the one that said that, like where they kind of crammed everything. Or you guys, or maybe you both said this, I don't know. They both said they kind of crammed everything into one. I kind of do agree with that. But yeah, but I mean like overall the writing I don't think was bad. I do feel like they just crammed a lot into one. Because even like I liked the whole storyline with Mundy and the crush too, but like it again felt so rushed. Like we got to see one little moment with them before the end moment, and that was it. Like, okay, I wish I cared more about them. I don't know. But yeah, I guess that's kind of my thoughts on that.
I get what you're coming from because honestly, we are in the third season into the season. We've seen them in the Christmas special. We don't know them yet. And we're not that caring for them so I get what you're saying. Kyle, before I get to you with what you think about Moffat's writing for this episode and jump back in, I do want to jump in the chat. Q Ball says, hello friends, sorry I'm late. Hey Q, thank you for coming.
Hi Q.
Thank you.
Also Timspirations is here. Hi Timspirations.
Hello.
Timspiration says, I hate the pacing of Boom. Great concept, but it felt like they put too much time into characters they didn't actually properly give us an interest in, and very little time on any of the really interesting concepts.
Really
it just
does.
felt it just felt kind of dumb, like overly emotional for no reason because we don't care about anyone because they rushed through it. We go from randos to besties in 4 seconds, and it's just blah, which I completely agree with. That's a great summary for me. And before I ask this question, Kyle, what were your thoughts on Moffat's writing and coming back in for the first time?
I feel like I can sum up Brian and Julie's and my issue in the idea that I have had reading this, where I will bet Stephen Moffat pitched an idea, good or bad, about the anti-capitalist storyline that we got, about the idea of a war-torn planet, about X, Y, and Z all coming together, and Disney said, maybe. And we have enough money going that we will sell maybe. Maybe is what we will sell. That is what we will sell. We won't go into it far because again, it really feels like Moffat was selling something that you would have seen with Primo, that you would have seen with 9, 10, and 11. You would have seen it, but you have to contend with a primarily American audience. And America's taste, a large platform with America's taste factor being, it's like, wait a minute, it's like you can't give you too much. You just got to kind of pull back just a little bit. It's like, oh, this is a thing that's going on. I'm starting to, no, now there's a happy ending. So that's, I think it was fine. It wasn't Who. It was Who for children.
Yeah.
It was Baby Who.
I'm writing down we can sell a maybe because I love that so much. Like that's so good.
Yeah.
Since you weren't here on our last cast, what I said was what I feel like those first 2 episodes were it was like, those like how to do something for dummy books?
Yeah.
This is Doctor Who for dummies.
Yes. Well, so and it does. No, and it kind of, to an extent, that I working for Mickey, not speaking for the brand or the company, but having seen Disney, I know that as a consumer, Disney products primarily are very simple storytelling, and that's what this was. This was trying to put something very complex into a very simple story, because the idea of Magic Fun Man Nishuti and girl going through space in box, Cosmic Joyride, there's a big sign that says your Cosmic Joyride awaits, and it's like the Doctor's journey is not a cosmic joyride. It's journey of pain and suffering, and it's like
he's a war veteran.
Well, what would, like I also said the last cast, is what you have to remember is this is post-therapy doctor.
yeah.
So everything previous is pre-therapy doctor, where he had to work stuff. So he was the old doctors were the millennials, and now they're post-millennials.
The millennials got the ride full of pain and suffering, and the Gen Z gets the cosmic joy ride. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but if they get a taste of that pain and suffering version, I feel like they're gonna know which one's better. Like,
listen, 73 yards. I have thoughts about 73 yards.
oh, me too.
So before we get to 73 yards, I do want to jump back into the chat really quick. Liza has joined us. Hello again. Thank you for being here. But Q Ball does have a question for us. Q Ball's question is, which doctor's companion would be perfect for each other, like from the modern seasons? And I'm guessing he means from 2004 till now. Which doctor companion would you choose if you could partner any of them up? And we'll start with you on this one, Brian. Which one would you pick? Which doctor would you pick, and which companion would you pick? We'll start with you on this one, Brian. Yeah.
Always Donna Noble, 100% every time. I can't help it. She's my favorite. I want to see her go. I want her to have her own show. I'd watch it. She wouldn't even need to go on space adventures. I don't know. Donna Noble, 100% all the way every time. If you ask me about like which one's my favorite, like always Donna Noble.
And then which doctor would you choose to go with Donna? Any of them?
8. I think that would be awesome. 8 and Donna would be. 8 was
the War Doctor.
Man,
he's the big
Christopher
Eccleston.
Yes.
No, not Eccleston.
No, he's 9.
He's 9? Okay,
9.
9, I mean. Yeah, 9 and I would love to see 9 and Donna together, because I just feel like they would both just be absolutely up each other's ass in a way that would be really funny. Like he was absolutely unnegotiable. She is absolutely it would be an unstoppable force, being an unmovable object in a beautiful way. I would love to see that.
I could see that. Same question for you, Julie. But before, Nom Talk Network has redeemed Hydrate. So cheers, everybody. But yeah, Julie, same question for you. From 2004 till now, which companion and any of the doctors would you choose?
That's a hard question. I do feel like a lot of the pairings were very good. Would I have kept Clara on for as long as she did all the doctors that she was with? No. But, for the most part, I like a lot of the pairings. But let's see what would be fun. I guess this is a fun what-if scenario, right? So I would love to actually see Amy and Rory with this new doctor, with Intrudy. I think that could be really interesting. And apparently it's interesting because he still likes fish fingers and custard, whereas I feel like the last couple iterations of the doctor did not mention much about fish fingers and custard. So it's interesting that they're going back to that, so it could be interesting to see, because that was Matt Smith and that was with Amy and Rory, and I also just love Amy and Rory, and I'd love to see them back again. I think that would be a pairing I would want to see. Yeah. Yeah,
I can see that.
I'm gonna go with that.
Kyle, which pairings would you choose?
So I was thinking about this as everyone was answering, and if I had to pick a doctor and a companion, just shooting off the top of my head, I think that Rose and 11 might be interesting, just to get that really grim dynamic plus the goofiness. I feel like seeing the doctor a little bit happier would be interesting for Rose for sure. But what has me thinking, what's percolating in my noodle, what is cooking the noodle, so to speak, is I am curious if we could get Nishuti and River's song. Because I have to wonder if Ruby Sunday is River's daughter.
There are rumors.
Are there rumors about that?
We'll get there after this episode, but I'll put a pin in that.
Okay.
For me for that question, I would love, because I mean, 10 and Donna are my favorites, and they will always be my favorites. So that is the perfect pairing for me. But also throw Bill in there, and I think it would be
Ooh,
so.
I would
Bill.
love to see Bill with a different doctor. Yeah, that would be. I did really like Bill.
But
Well, Donna and Bill, because there was no romantic attraction to the doctor, plus Tennant because he's honestly my favorite. I would love to see that combination, because it would just be like respect, and we're just gonna get shit done.
Yes.
But moving on, we are going to jump into 73 yards. So 73 yards is a standalone episode with Ruby Sunday herself. It starts off with the Doctor and Ruby landing in Wales. Excuse me. When they come out, they start talking and everything, and the Doctor happens to step and break a fae circle. Ruby starts reading letters that are in the fae circle aloud, and a lot of them are say like, "We miss you, rest in peace, Mad Jack." And the next thing you know, the Doctor is gone. Ruby walks around the TARDIS to see where he's at. He's not there. She tries her key on the TARDIS. It doesn't work, and she starts saying, "Hey, you locked me out. Like, you've locked the inside. Nothing. And then she notices in the distance a woman kind of moving her arms in a weird shape. And she's like, "Hey," and starts walking towards her. The closer she gets, the further this woman gets. And no matter if she runs or anything like that, she cannot get closer to this woman. Before I continue explaining this episode, just so you have some time to think, Brian, Cue Ball has redeemed "You're So Punny," so start thinking of a pun that you can do as I explain the rest of this episode. So as closer she gets to the woman, she can't get to her, so she starts walking towards a town. And on her way, she runs into a hiker. And as she runs into the hiker, she's like, "Hey, can you tell that woman behind me, like, I'm sorry for whatever I did. I'm good." And also, she knows the Doctor. The hiker walks up to her to relay the message. And as she's talking to this stranger, looks back at Ruby, screams, and runs from her like Ruby is a monster. Ruby kind of freaks out and then goes down to the town. Ruby ends up at this local pub, and she walks in, which is kind of funny because she's like, "Do you have a room for the night? I'm lost. Do you pay by phone?" And all of them are like, "Phone? What do you mean pay by phone?" It's modern times, so they know what she's talking about. In there, she mentions that this woman is like far away from her, but she won't ever get close. And the woman a woman in the bar happens to say it's semper distance, to they're far but close, but you can never really get them. So semper distance. In that, a handyman leaves, and he was just like, "I'll just go talk to this lady and see what her thing is, and also come inside because it's freezing outside." As he goes to go talk to the woman, he also turns towards Ruby and runs away in horror. Ruby ends up staying in the village for what I believe to be several weeks, just watching this lady. She goes up to the TARDIS to see where the Doctor is and everything like that. She's just watching this lady, and always in the distance. The innkeeper says that one of her patrons has talked to the lady and says that he's never coming back because of the girl. So they kick Ruby out. Ruby goes home and finally sees her mother and everything, Carla and her grandmother, and tells her mother about this lady. Her mother then goes and is on the phone with the lady and talks to her and be like, "We're going to figure this out," what she's saying, everything like that. When her mom walks up to her, again, turns towards Ruby, screams, and runs away. Gets in a cab, drives away. Ruby's screaming after her. Ruby's at her house for several months or several weeks, and then the mom ends up switching the locks, and locking her out. Then we jump a year in time to where Ruby hasn't talked to her mother, has been locked out of the house, has had to get a job, has her own apartment, and Kate from U.N.I.T come to help Ruby, like they always do with every companion. And Kate explains that to her, like when a companion is done with the doctor, we step in to help the companion, work, whatever it be. U.N.I.T swoops in to talk to this woman, and whatever this woman has to say, all of U.N.I.T turns towards Ruby, including Kate, and they run away from Ruby, leaving her alone yet again. What I did forget to mention at the beginning of this episode was, why can't I remember his name? The doctor did happen to mention that one of the big politicians from Wells was Roger Ape Williams, who was the mad prime minister who pretty much was like nuclear war bound. And that was like the weirdest thing. But he cut himself off because we're in 2024 and that didn't happen to 2025.
2046.
2026.
Sorry. But after Kate and U.N.I.T run away from Ruby, Ruby kind of has to like live her life with this random woman who she actually told Kate that is 73 yards from her exactly for her whole life. Time keeps passing and Ruby ends up getting into her 40s and going on dates and everything like that. And she sees that Roger Ape Williams is running for prime minister. And she figures out that this is why she needed, or kind of why she needed the woman who makes everybody run away to save the world from this man. So she joins his political campaign, holding coats, everything like that. He does end up winning, and he is going to make the world unsafe. He's going to be fascist and nuclear destruction. So she doesn't know when she's going to do it, but they pick a big football stadium to do his inauguration. And Ruby's like, this is the perfect time. So sorry I couldn't do it sooner. Walks to midfield and places the woman right next to Roger Ape Williams and scares the hell out of him because he was supposed to get the nuclear codes the next day. He runs off the stage, doesn't be prime minister anymore, nothing, new prime minister comes up, and so the world is safe. There's not going to be a fascist ruler, like they're going to be kinder, everything like that. Then we jump again another, I want to say 40 years. Another 40 years. It was 20 years, then it was 40 years. To where Ruby now visits the TARDIS that's covered in flowers and in moss, and everybody's like, we miss you, but I don't think anybody really knows why. But she goes and visits the TARDIS and tells the TARDIS her life story and says that she did it, but the woman is still there. And then we go to Ruby in pretty much a facility where she's going to die. And funny joke of the nurse being like, when you want light, just say light. And she's like, that was when I was younger, because that's what we have now. But she says that, and then she goes to sleep and she hears something and she says light, and the woman is now closer to her, closer to the 73 yards. And then the light dims, comes back on, and she's closer again. And the light dims and comes back on, and the woman turns, and we end up with this picture that is behind me of Ruby waking up, and she is actually the woman who was 73 yards away from herself. And then we jump back to the beginning of the episode where Ruby and the doctor exit the TARDIS on that mountain cliff in Wales, and Ruby's older self tells her, don't step, watch your step. And so she stops the doctor from stepping on the phase circle and disappearing, and all of this happening. And then they move on through their days. For me, in this episode, I actually think this is the best episode of this new Who for me, because it brings me back to old Who with being darker and a little bit more intense. But also why I like this episode, and this is where you guys can attack me if you want to. I was thinking the issue with this series was Millie Gibson, who plays Ruby Sunday. I thought the issue was her, and she was just like overpowering and something like that. This episode for me proved that, one, Davies can still write. She's a great actress. and for her to hold her own for a whole episode by herself was great. I think the issue that I'm having now is I don't think Ncuti is a good doctor. But going to you guys, what did you think about this episode? What did you think about Millie Gibson being by herself? We'll start with you on this one, Julie.
You could see my face as I was making. Okay, first of all, let me just preface this with I have no issue with Millie Gibson being by herself. I think she is a great actress, and I think that she did hold her own. But I did not like this episode at all. Okay, it was reminiscent of some. I will give you that. For me, it was reminiscent of some older Doctor episodes for sure. There definitely were some companions that I remember going through something like this, where they went through like their entire life and then it kind of restarted over again because something happened or whatever. So like, I wanted like, I don't know, like I wanted some acknowledgement from the Doctor. I wanted some more explanation. Like, I hated how it ended because like they never wrapped anything up, and I can only assume that maybe they're trying to like precursor or something, like maybe they're trying to, something's going to come along the way that this will have been a build up to, because they do that sometimes in Doctor Who, and well, they do that a lot actually, I think. So I'm thinking maybe it's that, but I just felt like I don't know. I've been sleeping on this for a couple of days, and I feel like it's driving me crazy that there was like no real resolution, that we don't know what she said to turn everybody running, screaming away. Like, we don't know, like, why did everybody have to abandon her for her to be able to like get rid of this prime minister? Like, that doesn't make sense in my brain, like why that had to happen. And like, I don't know. And like, yeah. And so we never figured out what she said. We never figured out what those messages really meant. Like, apparently, like, I know they referenced that the Mad Jack might have been the prime minister or whatever, but like, but then they didn't talk about that again after that. Like, why would they miss him if he was a terrible prime minister? Who missed him? I don't know. Like, did she make the fairy circle? Like, who made the fairy circle? I have so many questions. And like, I don't know. I think I wanted it to be like one of those older episodes, like, with, technically like Rory went through that when he waited the 300 years or whatever. And, you're like Martha with, when they went through that whole, like, John Smith, he was John Smith, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. But those for me were so much better done episodes. And yeah, I don't know.
So I think, I agree with you with like there are questions unanswered, and like I completely like why the face circle, like what was she actually saying, except for like what we kind of heard at the end of being like, don't step on it, don't blah blah blah, like what was she actually saying and everything. But like I had to go back and watch Turn Left with Donna because this was very reminiscent of that.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, I could
like
see that.
On some time, and there's questions that aren't answered, and then she goes back and we just jump onto the final of that season.
I'm trying to remember that episode, but I maybe don't love that episode either. Maybe that's why I don't remember it very much.
For me,
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just somebody who.
It is also from a million years ago.
Well, true. Yeah. And it's been a while. I haven't gone back to watch a lot of the older ones as of late, but I don't know. Something about me just really needs resolution in some of these, and I didn't get that in this, and I just couldn't understand why everything was happening. And at the end, I still didn't feel like I knew why, and I still didn't feel a sense of like, okay, that's an hour of my life I can't get back because like I was invested in it, and then nothing came to an end of like why it all happened. I don't know. Like I said, I can only hope that it's gonna be built up to something down the line, and maybe it will have been worth it. But right now, for me, I'm like,
The one thing I did get out of this episode is a lot of them were saying that she is wrong. And whatever the other one was saying and they were telling Ruby, like her mom and everything, that she's just wrong. Like she doesn't belong. She's wrong.
Oh, yeah. I did pick that out. Yeah.
I think that's growing towards it. But like how you said, this was a waste of an hour for you. sadly enough, thought the last 3 episodes were a waste of an hour for me, except for this one. But I see where you're coming from for that. Brian, not only do you have a pun, but what did you think of this episode?
I mean, all I could think the whole time is, well, she's in trouble now. Well, she's in, because the Welsh, it was, yeah, that's out of the way.
Bravo, bravo.
I thought of that in 3 seconds, and I thought, I'm not going to do better than it, so that's what it's going to be.
I like it. I like it.
Good one. This is a good one.
You are too kind for liking that. Anyway, yeah, favorite episode of the season so far. Like, yeah, I don't know. I appreciated that they were, hitting some of that high concept sci-fi rigmarole that I love so much. Was the ending a complete whiff that explained nothing? Yes. Very frustrating. That 76 yards. Why? What does she say? We don't know. I don't think they wrote anything. I don't think they know. Maybe we'll find out later if they do, but they could have made it up after and not know now. Like, it was pretty frustrating. However, I did think that I I did think that Ruby's journey in this was the best story so far. Like, Ruby's journey in this, it's I liked the last 2 episodes more than I've liked a lot of the other episodes, and I think it's weird because it was kind of like the Doctor bottled and Ruby bottled. Like, not on an adventure together. Like, but yeah, I really did enjoy these episodes more than the others. This one more than the rest because I feel like it had that that mystery that, granted, they don't solve, but it's like it was something to cling to. Just like, who is that woman? Why does Ruby keep sending people to their doom on the third? Why did you send your mom over there? You already know what happens. Why do you keep doing this to people, Ruby? Stop sending people over there. Like, you know what's gonna happen. And that was like, I don't know, but still, I feel like it built to something that I was invested in. Like, this was the most invested I have been watching the show so far because I was like, damn, like, I loved the scene with like the government agents and what was it? What's the name of the agency?
A unit.
Unit. Like, that scene with her at the table, like, we've helped the Doctor. It just sounds like, oh, she found a solution. Like, this is it. This is gonna work. And then, like, that doesn't work, and the despair in that moment, like, that was good stuff. Like, that was like, yes, it didn't work. She still has to figure out this problem. And then, like, 40 years later, it's like, what? I loved the journey. I didn't love the conclusion. They gotta be building towards something, right? Like the old woman in the medicine robot in the first one. We're gonna see her again, right? There's no way we've seen that old woman that was talking on the ambulances for the last time.
We've actually seen the girl who was in the ambulance.
Really?
We've seen her every episode since the seasons have started. She was the hitchhiker.
Wait,
she
really?
Was the,
oh man,
she was,
what?
She was the ambulance. She was the cafeteria lady. She was.
Are you kidding?
She has been in every episode as a different character since this new season has
that
started.
has to mean something.
I did not notice that. I
didn't either. Where my perception is going out the window.
Susan Twist has been in all 5 of these episodes so far.
Well, shit. That's
good. Good observation, Eric.
Which also, her name being Susan, name being Susan Twist. I'm just like, what twist are you gonna throw us? Like,
yes.
Like, come on, Susan. Sorry.
Well, I'm apparently losing my ability to recognize
72
people.
yards.
She was the hitchhiker that first talked to the lady.
Didn't even
one on the sticks.
Yeah, sticks. Yeah.
Yeah. Like.
Wow.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't recognize Joe Anderson, and I didn't recognize her in all these episodes. I'm losing my ability to recognize people. But that's blowing my mind right now because that has to mean something.
Has to. Like, that is really cool. So
What?
anyway, long and short, I didn't love not knowing what did she say? Why was anything anything? How did she go to the past? Like what?
Right.
Why did where did the doctor go? Why
Yes,
did the fairy circle
that's what
send
I'm
him away? Like all of these things are just kind of out the window. But I will say I found this to be probably the most engaging journey so far. I was 100% invested all the way to the end. Like probably a little. I got to admit, I spaced a little on Space Babies. I may have drifted away for moments because I get it. They're talking babies. But this one that I was like engaged in, like, what the hell's going on? Like, what the hell's going on? Turns out the writers might not have even known, but yeah, that's my long and short. And
No,
long.
I completely agree with you. This is the first episode since the new Who has started that I was actually captivated and wanted to see where it was going. Also, this episode, Miss Flood, the neighbor, has come back, and they showed her, and she, even without knowing what they were actually doing, told Ruby, "You're on the phone with your mother, who's right there," even though Ruby never said anything. And then she quickly runs away. So I think Miss Flood has something to do with it.
Yeah, that's a good point
little
too.
seed of plot they're planting there for later, maybe.
Kyle, what are your thoughts on this episode?
This episode was one of the most terrifying episodes of New Who. I am genuinely unnerved by things just standing in the middle of open places, because it says to me they are not scared of me, and if they decide to come for me, they're gonna come for me, and I'm not gonna have anywhere to go. They're just so unafraid that they're gonna stand there. Secondly, she fell into another world. That's where she was. And the reason why she was wrong is because humans who leave the Fey realm end up changed or transformed. So I'm willing to bet that what happened was the doctor broke the Fey circle, which you're not supposed to do, and either he was just nixed completely out of reality for a moment, or she was the one that fell in and he spent the whole amount of time looking for her. And when she fell into an alternate reality where she was being followed by the Fae version of herself, or at least some kind of timey-wimey sci-fi meets. Disney's thing is not science fiction. I mean, science fiction and Star Wars, sure, but Star Wars at the heart of what it does is fantasy. Disney has never done science fiction well. From the Black Hole to Marvel Phase 4.5, Disney does not do sci-fi well. It has to have an element of fantasy. So I am willing to bet that we saw in this episode, we saw the Fae, we saw what they're capable of, which is in its own way its own sort of like TARDIS style generation. We know that we know U.N.I.T is prepared for magic. We know U.N.I.T is prepared for magic in some capacity, because she mentioned maybe they're not. That's just it, though. Maybe they're not.
She did mention that they have like salt and silver and like the supernatural. And Kate Lethbridge-Stewart did mention that has been happening more recently than it ever had before.
She brought up something. The U.N.I.T people brought up something about your what did they say? Like your timeline has been split or divert. Like there was, it was like a sentence.
Kate did mention to Ruby, she was just like, and based off your event, I'm so glad we found you, but it was no mention of whatever this event was.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
She fell into the Fey realm.
I don't think that's why. The event. I think the event is her birth.
Really?
I was gonna look up an analysis video like right after this. I gotta be honest, I just watched the episode right before I came here. Like, like I wrote a bunch of notes, like so I'd like remember stuff to say, but like I am still like fresh in this. I haven't really marinated in it very long, but like this is all interesting. Interesting stuff.
TLDR, this episode was terrifying, and I'm pretty sure we are starting to see, although it may be very subtle, the elements of fantasy coming out to play in the Whovian universe. It's very clear she fell into a Fey realm. Whatever followed her out was the Fey version of herself, which is transformed. And if you go by sci-fi rules, you can't have two of the same person existing near each other. There might be a hole about 73 yards. So it might, but people.
There's gonna be a thing that can't happen. It just can't happen.
Yeah, I have to wonder if that's what made the other her wrong. Is everybody was looking at it and everyone was like, that being should not exist because that is you.
The disruption of the circle was such a big deal because it was the doctor who kicked it open.
No, you
Like,
never pick it. You never break a fairy circle. That's just my own personal. Never break.
I mean,
never in a million years. You couldn't pay me enough.
But maybe the doctor doing it like is what gave it all that magic juice that really fucked up reality for everybody. Like for what 80 years or so. Because we just did a kill Hitler. Like this face circle being broken led us to kill a Hitler that was gonna lead the world to like a new version of the timeline exists now. Because
I mean,
this whole thing happened for the better, and
it
now
doesn't, because now Ruby has her timeline, and so he still exists in her timeline. Whatever timeline she went to, he does.
True.
All the undoing got undid.
See, that's where there's a lot of confusing things. That's what I'm sure. Like, does he though? Like, did he like change it because she was able to be there at the end of her 80 years or whatever? I don't know. It's just all very confusing.
Still there though. After she said,
5 seconds in, a big orange door opens and out walks Owen Wilson with a time stick followed by Tom Hiddleston. And they're just like, we're doing this. Get in the TVA, son. It's happening.
Oh my gosh, that'd be hilarious.
It's all Disney now, so it's possible.
Look, this is also the second episode in a row where the doctor walks out of the TARDIS and steps on some shit like immediately. Like it was the same exact beginning. Like I'm gonna run out of the TARDIS. Oh, I fucked everything up. So it was the beginning of the last two episodes. I just think it's funny that they reused the doctor takes a step on something he shouldn't have twice in a row.
So I did want to. This is my last question because we are running out of time, and very quickly I want your answers. These last two episodes, being at Boom and 73 Yards, like you just said, Brian, we've seen the doctor just run out golden retriever style and screw himself, basically. What are your thoughts on that? Because we've really never seen the doctor do that. What are your thoughts on this, Julie?
That's a very good point. I just think this is all maybe leading up to some bigger plot line. Like we talked about last week about how like they seem to be peppering in these little things that all connect to each other, a la Bad Wolf. And I definitely could see there being like some type of Bad Wolf type storyline happening at the end of this, and maybe that's why the doctor's acting the way he is. Maybe he's still even under control of the toy maker, like we talked about last week. We don't know. So I mean, if there's a whole lot of, it could be a lot of things, but to your point, I do kind of like this version of the doctor, but you're right, he's doing things the doctor wouldn't normally do. So it is interesting, and I feel like it's purposeful. Yeah, exactly. So, by the way, these chocolate things are very good.
I told you, Kyle. What do you think about the doctor just like running in and getting himself into trouble? Which he's like trouble, yes, but not this way.
So he's breaking a cardinal rule of time travel, which was set down probably, if I got my numbers right, when Doctor Who was initially Ray Bradbury would have grown up with Doctor Who, and the story of Sound of Thunder is about people in a time-boxed time machine that step off a predetermined path, squish things, and completely destroy the timeline that they're on, which is what this made me think of. So when you said connective events, I wonder if there is a path set in place for the Doctor, and he keeps stepping off of it in some capacity, and that keeps messing things up. So things keep trying to course correct. And I have to wonder if it does go. I mean, it is a fact. Disney does not do like hardcore sci-fi well. It does it good, but not in a way that's like lasting and sticky. Not like Star Wars, and Doctor Who blends the two. So I have to wonder if there's going to be some, God, I hope not, but some big twist that like, oh, there's more fantasy involved in your creation than you ever knew. and that's what the path is. But the minute that you mentioned that with him doing that, I was like, yeah, he doesn't do that. And I'm like, which is weird, because that's a cardinal rule of time travel is don't step off watch where you step. Watch where you step. That's the first thing that you see with Sound of Thunder, which is a classic time travel story. And I think that has something to do with it. And eventually, when Owen Wilson and the TVA show up with Loki and Deadpool, we're going to solve all of it. So, it's going to work fine.
What's the anomaly? What's the variance? All these variants are going to get wrapped up. Yeah.
All right, Brian, same question for you. Is like, what do you think of this doctor being like dumb? I'm going to say dumb because I think he's dumb. But
that's a way to put it. I like he's I don't it's not even Matt. Like Matt Smith was the golden retriever up until now. Like I thought like he was kind of a sort of like blunt,
what I thought.
But I loved Matt Smith. But I don't really blame it on the doctor as much as I do as it just feels like lazy writing. Like it just kind of feels like, let's just get to the adventure. Let's just have him step on some shit. If you see a guy in the cold open eating a banana, you can guess what's about to happen next. Like he's going over that peel. Like absolutely, 100%. Like I'm waiting for there to be a banana peel that is of extreme plot significance after the last 2 episodes. Like they just have him step in it, and I don't mind it. It's just, look, if they had broken the episodes, if Boom had happened later, I would have like forgotten. Like if they had some stuff happen in between, but it's like really just damn. 2 in a row where he just sort of runs out and not even 5 seconds out of the TARDIS has destroyed a timeline. Like he like it's really I
swear it's intentional.
No,
it has to be, yeah.
I hope so. Like I'd like it better if it was, but like I'm worried that it isn't. Like what if it isn't? Like
you said, lazy writing. I was thinking it was lazy writing, especially after I finished Boom, and then I saw this episode, and like it made me think, and I was like, it's not lazy writing, and it's not Millie Gibson. I just don't think, and people out there hate me. I don't think Ncuti has the ability to be the Doctor, because he does, and this is a little bit writing, yes, because he doesn't have that darkness, but I don't think he's pulling from anything. He's just going with the Disney. He's like the Disney princess of doctors.
I mean, I think I thought that thought.
And they have more
at some point, sure. But like, look, I still don't think it's too late for them to like give him a heel turn. Like, what if we kill Ruby? You know, what if we Rose Ruby off in
if you haven't heard, we're on episode 5. We have 3 more episodes with Ruby, and then she's gone.
Well,
really?
They've already replaced her. She's a companion next season.
Interesting.
I think doing something to Ruby could be the thing that
maybe.
Well, I think they're gonna figure out what's wrong with her and what she is, and then.
Oh, we don't know that. That's right. I forgot. We don't know that. Like,
guys, we are actually out of time. Unfortunately, we could talk, and I know. But we are
so many series.
For joining me for episode 3 and 4. Please let people know out there where they can find you on social medias. Not in real life, please, stalkers, but no, on social medias. Julie, where can we find you out there?
Yeah, I'm on Insta at JRaelyn, JRAELYN. You can also find me on TikTok at JRaelady, JRAELADY. Yeah, those are pretty much my primaries.
Perfect. Thank you for being here. Brian, where can they find you out there on the socials?
You can find me under Wayward Scientist over on TikTok or Instagram. Sometimes I don't post as much as I used to, although I'm working on a new Real Play Monster of the Week podcast called Trucks. It's about a bunch of truckers going on an adventure through a place I made up called America. It spans from the jungles of Ohio to the shrimp fields of Oklahoma. We're recording we're re-recording our first few episodes, and that'll probably drop into Spotify and wherever we can get it pretty soon. Keep an eye out for
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. And Kyle, where can they find you out there on the socials?
First and foremost, Brian, that sounds whimsical and charming, and I'm sure Disney will be on their way to your location instantly to purchase the rights from you.
Oh God, I'm so ready to sell out before I've even begun.
It's like, right? Yes, get me. You can find me on Instagram at Carolyn. No, you know what? I'll just get my TikTok. You can find me on TikTok at Carolyn Cosplay, CAROLING_cosplay, for all of your indie mascot horror unboxings, musings, and cosplay of, once again, indie mascot horror characters. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you all out there for tuning in. Be sure to join our Discord to keep this conversation going, as well as subscribing to all of our platforms at Nom Talk Network. You can find me on all socials at Heartless7. That's HARTLESS7. And before our next podcast, think, is that person who grabbed the ring in that first episode or in the giggle, could it possibly be River Song? But until next time, where we can discuss more. I am your host, Erric Ramirez, and everybody have a nomorific day. Bye.
Bye-bye.